Okay, so here's an example of graphing expanded polynomials, and we can't factor this straight up. It doesn't look like there's anything we can do. So what we're going to try to do is find a rational zero and try to reduce the equation and do it again until we can reduce it to a quadratic in which we can factor. We can see, first of all, the end behavior. This is going to be pretty easy to determine. Just the largest exponent, or the degree, is 4, so it's positive 4, or positive x to the 4, so it's going to be positive even. So it's going to behave just like any positive even function. So that's our easiest one, x squared. So the end behavior is going to be like this. So that's the easy part. So my rational zeros will be of the form c over b. Those would be any factor of 40 over factors of 1. And that's going to be what the rational zero would look like. It will be some number in this form, where the numerator is the factor of 40 and the denominator is a factor of 1. And that reduces just to be factors of 40 because we have 1 in the denominator. So we have plus or minus 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, 20, and 40. These are the numbers that divide evenly into 40. So let's get to work and see what we can do. So we'll start with 1. And we'll put our coefficients up here. 1, negative 2, negative 21, plus 62, minus 40, and bring down your 1, then we'll multiply. So we do our synthetic division. 1 times 1 is 1. That's going to be negative 1. And then 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. And that's going to be negative 22. And that's going to be negative 22. And that's going to be plus 40. And that's going to be plus 40. So we got it right ahead. Right on the nose right there. 0. So 1 is a 0. So x minus 1 is a factor. So now we know we're going to have x minus 1 times, now this is going to be my reduced equation. Now we started with the 4th power. Right, so now we're reducing it down, so this is going to be 1 less, so this is going to be 3rd power, 2nd, 1st, and 0 power. So it's going to be 1 times x to the 3rd minus 1 times x squared minus 22x plus 40. And see, we have just enough numbers to make it a cubic. All right? And now we want to find factors of this. So we've got to go ahead and start our synthetic division. Now, since 1 worked, it might be a repeated factor, so we really need to try 1 again. So we'll go 1 again. But we're going to use these numbers. We have a 40 again, so it's still going to be factors of 40, but we'll start here with 1. But we got fewer numbers to do because it's a cubic, not a 4th degree. So we've got 1 minus 22 plus 40. So these are the numbers we try. And this is going to be, bring down my 1, so 1 times 1 is 1. And that's going to be 0, 0, negative 22, negative 22, and that's not going to work. It's going to be 18. So let's try negative 1. And again, we're using 1, negative 22, and 40. And we've got 1. That's going to be negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. That's going to be negative 2. That's going to be positive 2. And that's going to be negative 20. And that's going to be positive 20. And that's going to give me 60. So that's not going to work. Okay. So my next number is 2. So let's try 2. 1 minus 22 plus 40. And 2 times 1 is 2. That's going to be 1. 2 times 1 is 2. That's going to be minus 20. And 2 times minus 20 is minus 40. Ah, there we go. We got another remainder. So that's my other factor. So since 2 is a 0, x minus 2 is a factor. So now I've got my x minus 1, x minus 2, so I can write x minus 1 times x minus 2, and then I've got this reduced equation, and this is going to be now x squared, because we went from a cubic now to a square, so it's going to be 1x squared plus x minus 20. That's my little dog barking. Taffy, quiet? Okay. That's what we got there. And we can factor this because this is a nice simple trinomial. So we can factor this to be x, and the signs are different, sign largest positive, so it's going to be positive, negative. Multiply to give 20 different by 1. Looks like it's going to be 5 and 4. So we factor that. Once we get it down to a quadratic, we can factor it. Then we got x minus 1 and x minus 2 were from our zeros we found by synthetic division. So there's your polynomial. Okay? So not too bad. Now we know that my zeros are going to be x equals 1, 2, negative 5, and 4. My y-intercept, well, it's going to be over here. It's going to be when x is 0, y is negative 40, so it's going to be 0, negative 40. So that's all we need to graph it. Over here, it's going to, these are all first powers. So this is going to cross, 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 and cross at all these points. So now we just have to graph it. And we know we got our end behavior, so let's try to graph it. So we'll get a ruler out here, make a graph. And I'm going negative 5 and 4, so about even, so we'll just like this. This will be my y, this will be my x. I'm trying to make these kind of straight. Should have done this before, so it would be ready to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and we've got our zeros at 1, 2, 4, and negative 5. This is 0, negative 5. So these are my zeros, and then we're going to go down here. We can go 10, 20, 30, I guess negative 40. That'd be my y-intercept. So we'll dot those in. So remember, if we look at our other page over here, my zeros were at 1. You can see over here, 1, 2, negative 5, 4, and the intercept was 0, negative 40. So I'll put that in 1, 2, 4, and negative 5. Okay. And this is my intercept. Now my end behavior was like this, up and like this. So now we're ready to go. And remember, we kind of may want to do it in pencil, so in case we aren't so clear or nice and neat, we can always change it. So we're going to come down here. Now these are all going to be crosses. So we can come down here. We're going to go all the way down here. Now, it's probably going to crest in between these 2 points here. So probably the low point would probably be somewhere down about here. So it's probably going to come down around here. And then go back up. That's going to go up like this. It's going to cross here, cross there, and come up like this. So it's probably going to look something like this. Like I said, that's why we do it in pencil, so we can kind of smooth it out a little bit, so make it kind of smooth. And that's what your graph would look like, something like that. Now, like I said, online, you can go online and you can find a online graphing calculator. And then you could put that equation in and you graph and see how close we came. But that looks like it'd be pretty close to that. And again, the reason why I found that the lowest part of the value was here was I kind of estimated between these 2 points. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So between 5 and 6 is 1, 2, 3. So right around here. So I figured the low point would be around here to come back up. This is easy. It's right in between those, and this low point is right between those. So that gives you kind of an idea. So it looks something like that. Okay? So we just have to keep doing synthetic divisions until we get down to a quadratic that we can factor. Okay? I hope that helps.